Have you ever noticed how your plants seem perfectly happy in October, but by January they look like they've spent a week in the Sahara Desert? It's frustrating, right? You're doing everything the tag said, watering every week, keeping them in the light, but the leaves are turning crispy and brown at the edges. I used to think I just didn't have the gift for winter gardening. I'd walk into Home Depot or Lowe's, buy a beautiful calathea, and within 3 weeks of turning my heater on, it looked like a crumpled piece of brown paper. But here's the thing, it's not your fault, and you don't have a black thumb. The real villain in your living room is sitting right against the wall. Your radiator or your floor vents are blasting out dry, hot air that acts like a vacuum, sucking the life out of your plant's leaves faster than the roots can drink. Before we dive into the list of plants that can actually survive this, and the ones you need to move immediately, let me give you a quick save it now tip. If your plant is sitting directly above a vent or next to a radiator, move it at least 3 feet away today. Just that small distance can lower the temperature hitting the leaves by 10 degrees and save you a lot of heartbreak. Today, I'm going to show you which plants are radiator-proof, the common watering mistake that rots roots in the winter, and why your bathroom might be the best place for your favorite fern right now. Let's start with plant number 1, the absolute champion of the American winter home, the snake plant, Sansevieria. Now, I know what you're thinking. I've seen those everywhere. There's a reason for that. These plants are built like tanks. Back when I lived in my first drafty apartment in Chicago, I had a snake plant sitting just a few feet from an old steam radiator. I ignored it for 3 weeks because life got busy, and it didn't just survive, it thrived. What the nursery won't tell you is that snake plants actually don't mind the lower humidity that comes with our heating systems. While your tropical monsteras are gasping for air, the snake plant is perfectly fine. But here is the big mistake people make. They overwater them during the winter. Because the heater is on, we assume the plant is thirsty. I once made the mistake of watering mine every Saturday like clockwork. By February, the base was mushy and smelled like a swamp. Here's my protector rule for snake plants in the winter. Use the weight test. Don't just stick your finger in the soil, pick the pot up. If it feels light as a feather, give it a drink. If it still has some heft to it, leave it alone. In my house, during the winter, I usually only water my snake plants once every 3 or 4 weeks. They prefer to be neglected. If you have pets, just keep this one on a higher shelf or a plant stand, as they can be mildly toxic if your cat decided to take a bite. Now, moving on to plant number 2, which is another survivor, the ZZ plant, Zamioculcas zamiifolia. This is the plant I recommend to all my friends who say they kill everything. It's the ultimate anti-formula plant. It has these thick, waxy leaves that are designed to hold on to moisture. Think of it like a succulent's cousin that actually likes being indoors. I have one in my hallway, far from any window, and it handles the dry air from my HVAC system without a single brown tip. The biggest trap with the ZZ plant is putting it in a pot that's too big. I spent $40 on a beautiful ceramic pot once, moved my ZZ into it, and nearly killed it because the soil stayed wet for too long. Keep them in a snug pot with a hole in the bottom. Drainage is everything when the air is dry, but the soil is slow to dry out. It's amazing how we focus so much on the water in the soil, but we completely forget about the water in the air. You know why this happens, even when you water correctly? I'll show you the reason in the next part. The reason your plants are struggling even when the soil feels damp is a concept called transpiration. Think of it like this. Your radiator is basically a giant hairdryer that never turns off. It blows across the leaves, pulling moisture out of the plant's pores faster than the roots can replenish it. This is why you see those crispy, brittle edges on your peace lilies or pothos. It's not a lack of water in the pot, it's a lack of moisture in the air. I used to think the solution was to just dump more water into the soil, but all I did was create root rot. I want to save you that money and frustration. It's about the environment, not just the watering can. This brings us to plant number 3, the cast iron plant, Aspidistra eleoter. If you have a spot in your house that is dark, drafty, or right near a heat source, this is your new best friend. In the Victorian era, these were the only plants that could survive the fumes from gas lamps and the dry heat of coal fireplaces. In my home, I have one sitting on a mahogany side table near a floor vent. While other plants would have curled up and died, the cast iron plant just sits there looking stoic. What nobody tells you at the store is that these plants grow slowly. Don't buy a small one expecting it to fill a corner by next month. Buy the size you want now. And here is a practical today action for you. Take a damp microfiber cloth and wipe the leaves. Dust acts like a barrier in the winter, preventing the plant from breathing and soaking up what little sunlight we get in December. I make it a habit to do this once a month while I'm watching the news. It makes a world of difference. Now let's talk about a mistake I see in almost every American home during the winter, the pebble tray myth. You've probably seen the advice online to put your plant on a tray of water and rocks to increase humidity. I tried this for an entire winter with my calatheas. I spent hours cleaning slime off the rocks, and you know what? It did almost nothing. The humidity only rose by maybe 1 or 2% right around the base, while the leaves were still frying in the radiator heat. Instead of wasting your time with pebble trays, try grouping your plants together. I call this the huddle method. When you put 5 or 6 plants in a cluster, they create their own little microclimate. They trap the moisture they release, protecting each other from the dry air. I moved all my moisture-loving plants to one corner of the dining room, away from the direct line of the heater, and they looked 100% better within a week. It's a simple, free adjustment that changes the game. Plant number 4 is the spider plant, Chlorophytum comosum. These are classic for a reason. They are incredibly resilient, but they are the canary in the coal mine for your home's water quality and heat levels. If you see the very tips of the leaves turning brown, it's usually one of two things. The heat is too high, or there are minerals in your tap water that the plant can't handle. Here is a short protector tip. If you live in an area with hard water, try filling your watering can and letting it sit out overnight before using it. This allows some of the chemicals to dissipate and brings the water to room temperature. Shocking a plant with ice-cold water from the tap while the radiator is blasting them with 80-degree air is a recipe for disaster. I learned this the hard way after losing a prize-winning spider plant I'd had for 3 years. I thought it was a disease, but it was just temperature shock. If you're worried about your budget, the spider plant is also the gift that keeps on giving. Those little babies that hang down can be clipped and put in a jar of water on your windowsill well. Within 2 weeks, you'll have new roots. It's a great way to fill your home with greenery without spending another dime at the nursery. Just be aware, spider plants are non-toxic to cats, but for some reason, cats find the leaves hallucinogenic and will try to eat them like they're at a buffet. Keep them in a hanging basket to save your plant and your kitty's stomach. And heads up, there's a simple mistake that makes this plant stop blooming or even drop its leaves entirely in the winter. I'll show you how to avoid it in just a moment. The mistake that causes so many people to lose their plants in the winter, especially those beautiful blooming ones, is moving them too close to the window to catch the sun while the radiator is blasting directly underneath. I call this the oven effect. You've got freezing cold glass on one side and 85-degree dry air on the other. No living thing wants to be sandwiched between an ice cube and a furnace. I once lost a gorgeous Christmas cactus because I thought it needed that prime window real estate. Within 2 days, it dropped every single bud. I felt terrible, but I learned a valuable lesson. Consistency is better than intensity. This brings us to plant number 5, the wax plant, or Hoya, specifically the Hoya carnosa. These are incredible for the American home because their leaves are thick and succulent-like, which helps them ignore the dry air from your heater. I have one that's been in the same family for 20 years. It lives on top of a bookshelf in my office. It's about 6 feet away from the radiator, which is the sweet spot. It gets the warmth, but not the wind. If you have a Hoya and it's not growing, here is a protector secret. Check your pot. Most people put them in these huge decorative planters they find at Marshall's or TJ Maxx, but Hoyas actually love to be root-bound. They like feeling squeezed. If the pot is too big, the soil at the bottom stays cold and wet, and in the winter, that leads to root rot faster than you can say green therapy. If yours looks stuck, try moving it to a smaller terracotta pot. The clay is breathable and helps the soil dry out evenly, which is exactly what you want when the heater is running. Now, I want to talk about the common enemy. You know those beautiful, lush ferns you see in the grocery store display right now? They look so green and perfect. That's because they just came out of a professional greenhouse with 80% humidity and automated misting systems. The second you bring that Boston fern into your 20% humidity living room in Ohio or Pennsylvania, it's going to start shedding needles like a dying Christmas tree. If you already bought one, don't feel guilty when it starts to look bald. It's not your lack of skill. The showcase is made to sell, but your home is a different reality. To say that, move it to the bathroom. Even a small bathroom gets a burst of humidity every time someone takes a shower. That steam treatment is often enough to keep a finicky fern alive until spring. I keep mine in the guest bath from November to March, and it's the only way I've found to keep them from turning into a pile of brown sticks. Another thing I've noticed is how we tend to over-fertilize in the winter. We see the plant struggling and think, oh, it needs food. Stop right there. Feeding a plant that is dormant or stressed by heat is like trying to force-feed someone who has the flu. It just makes things worse. In the winter, I skip the fertilizer entirely. I wait until I see those first tiny green shoots of new growth in the spring. Your wallet will thank you, and your plants won't get chemical burn on their roots. I only understood this after losing 2 plants in a row to what I thought was winter thirst. The funny thing is, the problem is almost never the plant. It's the pot. I'll prove it in the next part. The reason I say the pot is often the problem is because of how heat travels near your floor. If you have your plant in a heavy ceramic or plastic pot sitting directly on a floor with radiant heating, or right next to a baseboard heater, that pot is acting like a slow cooker. It heats the soil, which cooks the delicate feeder roots. I realized this when I went to repot a struggling pothos and the soil felt like a warm cup of coffee. To fix this, simply use a plant stand. Getting your plants just 6 to 12 inches off the ground allows air to circulate underneath and prevents the hot feet syndrome that kills so many indoor gardens in the winter. Now, let's recap what we've learned today to make sure your home stays green until spring. First, remember the protector rule. If the heater is on, your watering schedule has to change. Use the weight test or the finger test. Stick your finger 2 inches into the soil. If it's dry as a bone, water it. If it's even slightly cool or damp, wait 2 more days. Second, embrace the huddle method. Group your plants together so they can share humidity. It's the most effective free trick I know. Third, watch out for the oven effect between cold windows and hot radiators. Finding that middle ground in your room, about 3 to 5 feet away from both, is where your plants will be happiest. If you're feeling overwhelmed, just pick one thing to do tomorrow. Maybe it's moving that one struggling ivy away from the vent, or maybe it's finally wiping the dust off your snake plant's leaves. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be observant. I spent years overcomplicating things, buying expensive humidifiers and specialized fertilizers, only to realize that most of my success came from just paying attention to where the heat was blowing. If your plants are already showing signs of trouble, like yellowing leaves or stunted growth, don't panic. It's a sign they are trying to adapt. If you give them the right environment now, they will bounce back. You aren't failing, you're learning the rhythm of your specific home. Every house in America is different, from the humidity in a Florida condo to the dry air of a Montana ranch house. Your job is just to be the bridge between the plant and its environment. Before you go, I want to make sure you don't fall for the biggest marketing trap at the garden center this month. There's a specific sign you need to look for that tells you a plant is already dying on the shelf before you even buy it. I've put together a guide on how to spot these traps and how to set up your soil for success so you never have to deal with brick soil again. Click the video appearing right there on your screen to learn the 3 signs that a plant is a trap and how to choose the right soil for a healthy home garden. I'll see you over there to continue our journey. Your radiator is your plant's worst enemy. Do this instead. Grow with patience, grow with knowledge, grow with love. See you next time.